Welcome back. All right. So I'm not the only one that's back. Rakia Jackson is back. Oh, okay. Let's see. Lighting. Maybe it's not light enough. Yay. Let's see. Hello. I'm here. Let's see. Every day. Hey y'all. I'm over here. Oh, I guess it's not light enough. Okay. What's changed? We've been working with this. All right. Okay, so I guess I just gotta be under the spotlight. Welcome back, everybody. So, as y'all probably saw on my screen when I went live, Kid Jackson is back, and when I say back, I mean back. Full effect, and she not playing no games. Unfortunately, she had to request and was granted a restraining order against is it James Pierce Jr. And turns out he might actually be back in the NFL playing. Because even though she had to get a restraining order because she feared for her life, the judge believed her based on the evidence presented in his history with the situation. It's not easy to get a protective order, but she got one. And seems that the charges where he ran into the officer's knee, the charge for that was dropped. Now, people said that clears the way because that was probably one of the more serious charges, maybe. Maybe that clears the way for him to come back. I don't know. Y'all let me know. One thing about it, we have noticed that they love people that beat up on people and paint powder and other strange behaviors that any other job, including McDonald's, you would get fired for. But this league loves people who have issues, and I think the leverage is the attraction. So I don't know what's going to happen there, but that's not a good look. Not right now, I guess. And did y'all know it was reported that the Browns were considering this one guy who used to play for the Raiders and he got convicted and incarcerated and they were trying to get him recently? I don't know his name. I looked into the story, but I forgot his name. Y'all probably know who it is. It was somebody, maybe a wide receiver. He got in trouble, got arrested. Somehow they were looking his way. I'm like, is he out? So I don't, maybe he's out or recently let go from prison, incarceration, and they considering him. That's just what the news is. That's that news. All right. So what I was saying is Rakia Jackson is back. So, we wish her well, right? She seems to be moving on with her life, but she was granted the protective order again, which is not easy to get. So there's some evidence there. And I think it was said she had called like the police department like 10 times about him. I guess because he was stalking her. So I don't know if they're gonna let him come back to the league right now. But people think that that charge being dismissed clears the way. So I mean, I'm not rooting for that. I think he needs to get help because what he did, running into somebody head on, and that was the last thing that happened, not the first thing. It shows he needs to take time out to actually get some help. Because if he's just slap on the wrist, he's gonna go back and do it again. And you don't want that. You want what's actually best for them. You don't want it to be, ooh, let me get him back onto the Falcons because we could use him for leverage. Right? So in his own best interest, I hope he gets some help. All right. So on a different note, we have our young fella, Shiloh, is out here being a mentor. Shout out to Peter for this story. I don't even know who page it was on. I was just happy to see Shiloh. So I think I'm going to share a clip with y'all. Shiloh was instructing youth on respecting women. He's on a podcast. They were working out at a gym. Check this out. Look like a private gym. Check it out.
Yo, by the way, he gets home.
No, I don't.
No, he doesn't. No, he just said he does. The tool.
He looks like Chris Brown.
The tool.
No, nigga, we don't like. What's the term you just used? Hoes. We don't like that.
Right.
Women.
Yes, women.
High quality, educated women.
Did y'all hear what Shiloh just said? Let me start it over for those that's just not coming in and couldn't hear. Take a listen to what Shiloh is saying. Shiloh is he's right? You want to respect women, right? And if they do the wrong thing, just move on. Just move on. No stalking, and no disrespect. All right, so listen to it just in case you didn't hear it the first time.
Yo, by the way, Ronnie, he gets home.
No, I don't, bro.
No, he doesn't.
No,
He just said he doesn't.
The tool.
He looks like Chris Brown. Why not?
tool.
No, nigga, we don't like. What's the term you just used? Hoes. We don't like that.
I like
Women.
Yes, women.
High quality, educated women.
High quality, educated women, not 304s. So shout out to Shiloh for that. That's our guy, right? And you know, I just want to say this too, right? Sometimes people find themselves in a situation where they're not doing what they used to do, right? And they might be a little lost, or they might be in a new space like Shiloh. But what he isn't doing is shying away from who he is, the way he was raised, just to be on somebody's podcast. I think oftentimes, way too many times, you know, we see people selling out just to get back to the league, or just to get on somebody's podcast. Not Shiloh. He didn't have to say that. And to be honest with you, there probably will be people that like, yeah, you know, because they like the disrespect. They like the shock value for the podcast. And he not with that. And like he said, no. Well, no, we don't call them 304s, you know, nice, respectable, educated women, right? And the guys was like, yeah, okay, and kept it pushing. See, if they have more people who were willing to hold, you know, accountability and uplift these guys, and you could get further with respect than you can with disrespect, right? So shout out to Shiloh, and shout out to Peter for sending that over to me. And since they were at a gym working, I'm wondering if this is where he works out. And you know, they just happened to link up on an episode, but everybody was working out. I didn't see Shiloh in this video working out, but everybody else was. So I'm thinking this must be his gym. And somebody was asking me, or actually commenting, that they were kind of sad that Shiloh didn't get a tryout. I don't think this is the period where Shiloh would get a tryout. I think he would be invited to camp. So that hasn't come yet. So just let's see. Now it does appear that he's working out. So we haven't gotten to the period, I don't think. I think he has to be invited to camp, and that doesn't happen till like right around I think last year. I remember the Colorado Buffaloes. Everybody was getting invited to camp after the draft. Yeah, I think right after the draft, a lot of people got invites. Now, some people probably got invites before, I don't know. But I remember distinctly after the draft, some Buffs were invited to try out. So Shiloh might be in the mix. If that, I pray God's will be done in his life. I don't know what he needs, right? So Shiloh was the hardest hitting safety in college football. You never know. He could be one concussion away from you know, deterioration of his life, and God trying to save him. I don't know. I'm just gonna pray God wills be done in his life. Same thing with Shador, right? We know Shador have been sacked a whole lot, right? So we just pray and support them in whatever God is doing in their life. So that's it. So shout out to Shiloh for instructing the youth, not 304s. Yes, let's be respectful. You can get further with respect. My parents taught me you can catch more flies with honey. Flies is not what you want, but the point is, even in bad situations, being respectful helps. So just be respectful on the good days too. That's just it. Just move with respect, lead with respect, and you'll get a lot further, right? So shout out to Shiloh for doing that. All right, so y'all ready to name that buff? I was so impressed with what I saw from this Colorado buff that I said, yeah, let's just go ahead and start name that buff. And I have a few clips saved. We only gonna do one at a time. I want y'all to name the buff, but be more impressed with what you see from the buff. All right, y'all ready? 1, 2, 3. Let's see who names him first. I'm looking at whoever gets the name up first. That's the person that came in first. Shout out to you. 1, 2, 3. Name that buff. Do you see that vertical? I had to look at that. I was like, is that a reflection on the floor? I was like, wait a minute. That's not the floor. Do you see how high up number 14 is? Who named that buff first? Let's see who got it first. Name that buff. Let's see. All right, nobody named it yet. We'll see. So anyway, look at the vertical. Look at how high he's up. Look at where the ball is in terms of the background and the border, which y'all know is high up on the wall. Anybody know who this is yet? Name that buff. See if anybody knows who it is. Hit the like button for me, please. Will Shepherd? No. Will Shepherd is in the NFL. Will Shepherd is in the NFL. Yes, it is Farrakhan. This is Khalil Farrakhan. Will Shepherd is gone. Will Shepherd is in the Green Bay uniform, number 82. My birthday. I never forget his jersey number now. Shout out to Khalil Farrakhan. Do you see this vertical leap? Like, I was looking at this. I was like, I really thought that was some kind of reflection. No, that's his vertical. This is, and you know, I'm looking and I'm really looking at this, trying to see, everything that I can to try to see how high up he is. And I was like, this is crazy. Yeah, that's his vertical. That's Khalil Farrakhan, y'all. Yep, it's a current buff. Yeah. When we say name that buff, we mean who played for them now. Facts, straight facts. So yeah, this is Farrakhan. That's exactly who it is. This is a current buff. Name that buff. That's the game we typically play. We played it last year, so we played it this year. Where we try to get familiar with the current Colorado Buffaloes. So for us, this is Khalil Farrakhan. I don't know. I think he's a true freshman. Oh, he was a freshman last year. So I wonder if he's a sophomore now. I don't know. This is second year with Colorado. So shout out to Khalil Farrakhan, number 14. Will Shepherd has moved on. This is Khalil Farrakhan. So when you see him out there with that tall vertical leap with the 14, you know his name, Khalil Farrakhan. And I don't know what his vertical leap is, but it's crazy. I'm telling you, I have to look at that. I'm like, is that a reflection? But no, that's how high up off the ground that he is, which is insane. All right, so let's move him right along. All right, shout out to Khalil. We'll be seeing you, sir. We'll be seeing you. Okay. So I did my homework. My homework tonight was to look into the Philadelphia Eagles, the Tennessee Titans, and the LA Rams, Matt Stafford, to see what they got going on in free agency. First and foremost, Kyler Murray has been signed by the Minnesota Vikings, as several of you predicted. So I just want to go ahead on and congratulate Kyler Murray for now being a Minnesota Viking. Around to Minnesota, we're gonna give them some time to get some things together to get through free agency with a quarterback and see what's going on. They claim they want to move off of JJ McCarthy, but the Ravens claim they want to draft Max Crosby, and that turned into a clown show. So we just gonna have to give them a couple of days, and when we get over that way, maybe we'll do Minnesota last in terms of their free agency. Give them some time to settle in with Kyler Murray. So shout out to Kyler Murray. His league minimum, I checked, it was $1.3 million. Now, that's pretty good. And I figured he would have been gone on day one, but see, Atlanta didn't want Kyler Murray. They wanted Tua, and they are still, the Falcons are being dragged. The Falcons and the Browns are both being dragged for their decisions. And not a surprise, right? Not a surprise. So shout out to Kyler Murray. And let's get into who I have first. All right. So I looked into Philly, and to be honest with you, Philly's just working on their free agency. They're just working on their defense. I was surprised to see that, but that's what he said. They're working on their defense. And who else we have? Hold on one second. Let me get back over to them. I think Tennessee was the most interesting of them all, so I'll save them for last. All right. So I wanted to know, when would Jalen Hurts' contract end? It won't end until he won't be a free agent until 2029. So Jalen Hurts is not going anywhere. Now, I was listening to people talk about AJ Brown, and apparently Adam Schefter said that they are not trading him unless the price is right. So in other words, they're not just getting ready to move off of AJ Brown, even though he wants to leave. And I guess they're gonna be in another sticky situation again. Because was that his issue last year? Okay, so remember AJ Brown had an issue with the team or somebody or something, and he became, in my opinion, a nuisance to the team. And I'm not surprised that he wants to leave, because he was a total disruption. And let me say this, even if he felt that the team was being wronged, and the coaches or the ownership or somebody on external to the team or internal to the team was causing problems, you yourself became a distraction. And that's why they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. There was friction ensuing. So the fact that Adam Schefter is sending information that was given to him from behind closed doors, right? I told y'all, Adam Schefter, they tell him what to say. That's just what it is. And haven't seen him lie, but I have seen him omit things. Haven't seen him be wrong, but they have changed their mind. So he'll report something and the team will switch up. Like he reported the Browns were taking a quarterback at number 2 overall, right? As the combine was happening, because they were Shador. And then the team made a switch. So that's what I mean by I've never known him to just be salacious for clickbait, but I have known him to push an agenda with information that he was given, right? Like he talked about Shador being drafted. He set it up and presented it as Shador is the problem because he could have gone to be a quarterback in Baltimore or Philadelphia. Yeah, at 144, just like Monkey. We want to draft your AZZ. Yeah, at 144. So you are basically saying, as you talk about this young man, that that's where he should be. Just because that's where people who are hiding behind Adam Schefter or hiding behind other people or the owner, right? And with the Browns, they're hiding behind all of these people that they sent out here, whether it's Andrew Berry on the payroll or Adam Schefter on some of these team owners' payroll. And people are accusing Adam Schefter of being on the Ravens' payroll for doing damage control about Max Crosby. So what you're seeing with Max Crosby is exactly what you saw with Shador. They may have arrived there, one through the draft, one through free agency, but after the damage is done, the cover-up is happening. The cover-up to say, oh, that's where he deserves to be. That's exactly what's happening to Max Crosby. Nobody is willing to hold the GM accountable in Baltimore, which should make Max Crosby look at Shador's situation and see it being the same as his, because none of the owners are holding the Baltimore Ravens accountable for devaluing this man. There was actually a trade scenario that was out there that I thought was hella disrespectful. We'll talk about it when we get to the Browns because it involves the Browns. So the Philadelphia Eagles and A.J. Brown are still going to be together. I don't know if he's going to be a distraction this year. Philadelphia is basically just working on their defense. Jalen Hurts is not going anywhere. So nothing exciting really just came from Philly. They're not moving and shaking. Remember, they went to the Super Bowl year before last, and right after the Super Bowl, they gutted that team. They're not even focusing on the offense. If they had offensive problems, they don't really care. They're not focusing on trying to help Jalen Hurts get back to the Super Bowl. The people who left Philadelphia, Jalen Phillips, an edge rusher, just signed with the Panthers. So they took an edge rusher, and instead of signing him and keeping him in Philadelphia, they sent him to Carolina, where Bryce Young is, and Kenny Pickett for 4 years and $120 million. So the Carolina Panthers valued the edge rusher from Philadelphia, but Philadelphia didn't value the edge rusher that they had. Y'all don't think that's strange when those types of situations unfold? Let me make myself smaller so you can see. You can see it a little better. Do you see this? I think it's interesting that you have top talent that another team wants, especially on offense, and then you don't keep them. Again, working on their defense, not focusing on the offense, not even retaining top talent that another team finds valuable. This is exactly what's happening in Baltimore when Isaiah Likely went to the Giants for more money than they paid who? Mark Andrews. So the Giants, even though it's still $500,000, it don't matter. The Giants saw value, elite talent in Isaiah Likely, but the Ravens didn't. Now it's an offensive member of the Super Bowl winning Philadelphia Eagles for the second time, or is the first time winning? Well, they've been there twice. They've won once. So another member of an offensive team that the team was considered a contender, the Ravens, the Eagles, players going to other teams for top big money. You see? That's why they're working on their defense. So next they have Nakoba Dean. He's a linebacker. He went to the Raiders 3 years, 36 million. Reed Blankenship, a safety, went to the Texans 3 years, 24 million. Jahan Dotson, a wide receiver, went to the Falcons 2 years, 15 million. Sam Howell, a quarterback, went to the Cowboys 1 year. So there's quarterback opening in Philadelphia. Okay, quarterback opening in Philadelphia. Then the edge rusher, another edge rusher, Aziz Ojulari, went to the Falcons for 1 year, but they didn't put his salary. And another edge rusher, Joshua. So they just get rid of all the edge rushers. I mean, it would be nice to have some edge rushers. It would be nice to have. It would be nice to have edge rushers. They're on defense, right? That's on defense, not offense. My bad. So they get rid of all the edge rushers, but they're working on their defense. So maybe they don't like the edge rusher position because they have clearly let 3 of them go. So on offense, they just let the wide receiver go. But again, not much action. Draft capital. The Eagles currently hold 9 picks for the 2026 NFL draft, including 4 recently awarded compensatory picks. The remaining needs following the departure of Reed Blankenship, starting safety remains the most significant vacancy in the secondary. All right, so that's the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's see if I asked any other questions. I normally ask questions. When will Jalen Hurts' contract end? Okay, so we know he'll be free agent in 29. Contract set to end after the 2028 season. Let's see if I asked any more questions. I like to ask questions. I think that was it for the Eagles. Let's see if there was anything else. Oh, I want to check their depth chart. So let me do that right fast because I was looking at the Tennessee Titans depth chart, which is where I want to land. I went to look at Cleveland's, y'all. It was gone. Oh, it's back. They must have been updated. It was gone, so it's back. All right, so we'll swing around to Cleveland last because that's the team that we follow more closely for obvious reasons. And let's see. Philadelphia. So they have a quarterback opening. They love to trade with Philadelphia because Andrew Berry's twin brother works there. Well, here we go. They only have 2 quarterbacks now. The 3rd and the 4th is vacant, which means they're going to get somebody. Starter is Jalen Hurts. Now the backup is Tanner McKee. I have never heard of him. So they need a quarterback. Trade incoming. Are they going to get somebody in free agency? Are they going to get somebody in the draft? Maybe like a 3rd or 4th rounder? Let's see. All right. So there you go. Let me see if y'all can see this. So check this out. Their quarterbacks, they got 2 spots open. Remember I told you the Falcons have only 1 spot filled and the other 3 open. Well, they got 2. So just like they have 2 spots, the Browns have 3. So they got rid of somebody. So they made room. So they make room for free agency, or did they make room for the draft or a trade? Let me know your thoughts. If you follow Philadelphia, if you're an Eagles fan, let me know. Based on what I've seen and learned from them, they are pretty much just focusing on their defense. It says their key re-signings are cornerback Reek Woolen, signed a 1-year deal worth $15 million. Cornerback Jonathan Jones, 1-year contract March 12th. Defensive tackle Jordan Davis, massive 3-year contract for $78 million, making him the highest paid nose tackle in NFL history. Tight end Jonathan Munt, 1-year deal to provide the team with a dedicated blocking tight end. And Grant Calcaterra re-signed for 1 year. He's a tight end, so that's on offense. That's it. The punter, Braden Mann, re-signed, continued as a team punters after a strong 25 season, and DB Michael Carter. So really, they only had 2 tight ends, Johnny Munt and Grant Calcaterra. That's it. The rest are all defensive players. So they didn't do much to their offense. Now, here's the question. Should they have done something with their offense? That's the question. They didn't make it to the Super Bowl. I mean, they did okay, but they didn't make it to the Super Bowl. Should they have done something with their offense, at least besides the two tight ends that they signed? Let me know your thoughts. Okay, considering AJ Brown want to leave, should they have done something else at wide receiver? Maybe like a security blanket or insurance for AJ, just in case he be benched or moved out the way. Let me know your thoughts. Philadelphia Eagles fans, let me know your thoughts. If you just have a thought, regardless of what team you like, let me know your thoughts. Okay, so that was the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's keep it pushing. Shout out to the Eagles. Good luck to y'all. Let's move on to, I want to do the Titans before I do the Browns. Let me move on to the Rams. All right, let's see if I can get to the Rams. All right, I'll tell you, the Rams got the same issue. I can tell you without even just looking. The Rams have, working on their defense, they have Matt Stafford, they have Stetson Bennett. Cooper Rush is still in the conversation. Hold on one second. Cooper Rush is still in the conversation. He was in the conversation last year, so I don't know what they're gonna do. I thought they had moved off of him. I remember last draft cycle, pre-draft, the Rams were said to be a good fit and was considering Jimmy Horn Jr. And then in the draft, before we got to the draft, when it was predicted that Shador was tumbling out the top 3 spot to the 6, to the 12, to the wherever the Saints were, to 21 for the Steelers, the Rams came up. And the Rams were loaded. They had 4 quarterbacks on the roster, and they basically brushed it off like, no. We don't want a quarterback. So I felt like the Rams were trying to say no. Now, guess what they are saying this year? They're thinking of getting somebody in the draft late so that Matt Stafford could mentor them. So you couldn't draft Shador last year so Matt Stafford could mentor him? See, some people gave the excuse that they didn't draft Shador because he was too talented to be a backup. And then some people gave the excuse he was too good. He wasn't good enough to be a starter, so he was in limbo. So now, even with Stetson Bennett over there, they're thinking of getting somebody in the draft to mentor. Is that why Philadelphia just made room on their roster by sending QB Sam Howell to the Dallas Cowboys? Could be. Other than that, and they just working on, the Rams are just working on their defense and considering a quarterback to mentor. That's it. Let's see. Let me see if y'all know any of these people that were in or out. Let's see. The Rams' biggest move was acquiring All-Pro Trent McDuffie from the Kansas City Chiefs in exchange for a first-round pick and 3 additional selections. So they have 4 different picks. It said Trent McDuffie is the cornerback. Trade and extension is the transaction type. 4 years, $124 million with $100 guaranteed. Highest paid cornerback in NFL history. My goodness. Well, shout out to Trent McDuffie. Jalen Watson, a cornerback, free agent signing, 3 years, $51 million, $34 million guaranteed from the Chiefs. So 2 cornerbacks from the Chiefs. Okay. Cameron Curl re-signed 3 years, $36 million. He's a safety. And on the tight end, Tyler Higbee, 2 years, $8 million, decided against retirement. So Tyler Higbee was going to retire, but they found $8 million for him. Coincidentally, the Browns have $8 million left in cap space, and it is said that Joel Bitonio's contract has voided, but he is contemplating maybe playing another year. So he's a free agent, and any team can pick up the 34-year-old. And they have $8 million left in cap space. And the Rams gave Tyler Higbee, a tight end, $8 million, and he could have retired. So do you see how maybe Joel Bitonio could come back? Since they voided that contract, can they give him a new one for $8 million? Let's talk about it. All right. So let me know in the comments. It said Joe Cardona Um, Free agent signing 2 years, Dolphins, Patriots. David Quessenberry re-signed 1 year, 1.5 million offensive line. Now they didn't value him very much. They only gave him $1.5 million. All right. So who they retained as exclusive rights free agents? Justin Dedich, Harrison Mevis, a kicker, Xavier Smith, a wide receiver, and Justin Dedich was an O lineman. So they just gave them exclusive rights. They said the Rams insured several young players would return for the 26th season by tendering. That is a term that I keep hearing. Tendering is putting rights on them that the team makes it so they can't negotiate with anybody else. But the bad side of that is it gives the team leverage because they can't negotiate nobody else. And at the same time, if I don't take this deal, what happens? I looked it up yesterday. So an O lineman, a kicker, and a wide receiver were tendered. Now, the Browns tendered Ronnie Hickman a safety. So I started reading about tendering, what that means. And it just seems like it makes the player feel special, like, oh, they want to keep me. But then at the same time, some contract or whatever is voided if they don't sign whatever the team presents to them. Let's see if I can get a more formal definition here other than memory. Because I noticed that I'm starting to hear the term a lot. Oh, the Browns tendered this person. The Browns tendered that person. So, of course, I'm looking at who it is who they're tendering. Then you hear franchise tag, like George Pickens got a franchise tag, or, yeah, they tagged him. And some people don't like that, right? So tendering a player and then tagging a player are two things that can be controversial depending on who the player is, I guess. Let me see. Here it is. It popped right up. What does it mean to tender a player in the NFL? All right. So it said a tender player in the NFL is a restricted free agent, RFA, or exclusive rights free agent. That's what we were talking about. The people who they said, hey, don't go nowhere and you can't talk to nobody else. And then we're going to put a deal together for you. And if you don't take it, what happens? It says who has been offered a 1-year contract by the team they were already on to retain their rights before the new league year begins, which was yesterday. It says the offer or the tender usually restricts their ability to negotiate with other teams. So if you play for the Browns and maybe you want to go somewhere else, but they put the exclusive rights, free agent, whatever, on you, or tender you can't talk to nobody else. It said this offer or tender usually restricts their ability to negotiate with other teams or allows the original team to receive draft pick compensation if the player leaves. Well, there you go. I think I'm seeing why so many people are being tendered. Think about how this could be used. There's a player, Ronnie Hickman. He did really well. And maybe some teams might be interested in him, but the Browns slap him with a exclusive rights free agency, meaning first rights. And maybe he want to go somewhere else, but he can't talk to nobody now. So you put in park. And you're put in park while they do whatever they want to do. And then they come back to you and offer you a deal. Maybe if you don't like it, I don't know. Right? Then you could leave if you don't like it. And guess what? If they tender you and you leave, they get draft picks for you. And I'm like, I can see how this could be manipulated. Because I got a player, maybe I don't really like him. And I know he want to leave. So I put exclusive rights free agents on him, right? And I kind of know other teams want to get him and he possibly going to leave. I'm going to tag him and get some draft picks. Y'all don't see that? So I don't know. Let's see what happens with Ronnie Hickman. Let's see if he takes, what is the offer? A 1-year contract by the Browns. Or if he leaves and goes to a team that offered him better. And then the Browns end up with how many picks? It said draft pick compensation if the player leaves. Compensatory draft picks. You know, kind of like when they interview minority candidates and they're not serious about hiring them, But if they do hire them, they get the draft picks and then they'll fire them like a year or two later. That's what happened to the coach from Miami, the one that just got fired, McDaniels. He's biracial, so that's how they bypass black. So he's biracial. They interviewed him when he was like some type of assistant something at the 49ers, and then they hired him as a head coach in Miami. I think was he even there 4 years? Raheem Morris was only a head coach for 2 years. So that's how these things can be utilized to, you know what, I really want the draft pick. So let me just interview you, hire you, keep you over here. The GM is controlling everything. The owner is controlling everything. You just coach the team. We want to tank anyway. So we're not really concerned about you. We just want to get these picks. That's the danger in incentivizing things that need to be done with draft picks, because it can be misused. So that's what a tender is, guys. The purpose of it is to retain the rights to young players, usually 3 accrued seasons, while keeping them under contract. Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens with Ronnie Hickman. He's the one I think that I noticed was tendered by the Browns. If there's anybody else, it'll pop up in a minute. All right, so there you go. So there you go on the Rams, working on defense, thinking about getting a quarterback late in the draft so Matt Stafford could mentor them, but they didn't want to do that last year. So not a shock. Then we talked about Philadelphia. Now we have the Tennessee Titans. Okay, the reason why I wanted to talk about the Tennessee Titans was because it's something happening here. It's something happening here. It's not a surprise. It's not a surprise. Let me give you a little context. Y'all know Cam, first pick overall, somebody they seemingly settled on, even though he's talented. He ended up getting hurting his throwing shoulder. Yesterday was his first day back being able to throw. I was looking at video of him. He looks like he's good, whatever, right? Will Levis was the guy that Callahan, who was fired, was pushing for. Callahan was losing like poorly, so he ended up getting fired, but I think he thought they were going to bench Cam. Will Levis ended up having surgery, so they kind of couldn't bench Cam. So it was kind of like the same thing with Flacco and Dillon and Shador. Will Levis was supposed to be used to push Cam out the way or block Cam, but he was a first pick overall. And ownership clearly was not in alignment with the coach. And I don't know why the coach thought he could do this without the ownership or the GM. I don't know, right? If it's not your company, how can you abuse the employees? That's what I'm getting at. So Cam, being Cam, they asked him how were they doing because they were losing. And he said, we're AZZ. And that's when Callahan took offense to Cam saying they're AZZ. But I had already called out Callahan for trying to make Cam early on when he first got there seemed difficult when he didn't. He just said, you know, I've never had a quarterback to talk when I'm talking. In other words, he felt as if Cam didn't know his place. And the reporters all laughed, and I thought that was disrespectful. The next thing you know, Cam is asked about how they doing. He had been sacked 55 times the whole season. He said he was AZZ before he even got to 55. So they just kept on punishing him, in my opinion. Then he ended up getting hurt. They took him out of the game with the Jaguars, saying that he was seriously hurt. Before the game was over, they put him back in after it was a blowout loss. Oh, he's not that hurt. So they were playing with him, in my opinion. They don't seemingly, everybody's not on board with Cam being the quarterback because he's a black quarterback. Now, there are fans, just like in the Browns world orbit, that see Cam's value and they sick and tired of losing. So they push back on the organization. So what did they do this year in free agency? Well, to understand what they did in free agency, you had to know what happened to their season. It was hell. Cam numbers were damn good. 3,000 yards, being sacked 55 times, and the O-line was deemed trash. So what did they get in free agency? They didn't get any O-linemen. They worked on their defense. Working on the defense just seems to be something to do so you don't work on the offense. So Cam is going to be up for another year where the fans want to win. They believe he can win. Some people in the organization believe he can win. They aggressively spent over $200 million in the first 2 days of free agency alone. They still rolling with Cam as their starter. They have a new head coach, Saleh. I think that's the name or something like that. Saleh. Y'all might know him. And they brought in Brian Daboll, who defamed Shedeur Sanders, and y'all know from the New York Giants. He was fired from over there. They also brought in Gardner Minshew, who apparently was coached by Daboll. I said, okay, I see where this is going. I see where this is going. So you got rid of your OC and your head coach, and you brought in a new head coach, a new OC, spent $270 million, but you didn't fix your O-line, and you let your new OC, who trashed Cam's best friend, Shedeur, bring in his old quarterback, Gardner Minshew. Do you see where this is going? So you spent $270 million, but not on the O-line, and your quarterback was sacked 55 times. So who's placating whom? Who's placating whom? It's given the Baltimore Ravens, when they gave Lamar his contract for $255 million, brought in Isaiah Likely, brought in Derrick Henry, but the O-line keeps failing him. It's the same script. But instead of the Ravens bringing in a Gardner Minshew, they brought in Cooper Rush. When you look at the Ravens chart, knowing that Huntley came back, they elevated Huntley to the primary backup, and recently, I think today, dismissed Cooper Rush. And my first question was, where is he going? Is he going to Philadelphia? Because they have an opening. Is he going to the Rams? Because they have an opening. So I was looking at the Tennessee Titans chart. Cam better get ready, because it looks like one half of the organization is trying to push him out, set him up to fail, while the ownership is spending money. But that's exactly what we thought with Lamar. And after this botched trade with Max Crosby, and we're going to talk about the lie that's being put forth through the damage control, because they busted, they clearly were not planning to save any money for Lamar. And let Ravens fans tell it, ownership loves Lamar. I don't see that. And if I don't see that ownership can't do anything about firing DaCosta, who clearly is allegedly have misrepresented Max Crosby's health status and ended up devaluing him, and the devaluation seems to be sticking. Max Crosby might want to look at collusion, because why would it stick if DaCosta was just being selfish and it was isolated only to the Ravens? Then again, maybe it wasn't. He can look into it, ask why it is he's being colluded against. So when I looked at the Titans depth chart, I saw Gardner Minshew at the 2 and Will Levis at the 3. So understand this, right? The Titans on some bullshit. I'm gonna just tell you what it is. I don't know why they spending $200+ million to revamp a defense when your quarterback was sacked 55 times and he still managed to score 3,000 yards, just like Shedeur did in Colorado. And you don't bring in no more O-line, but you bring in Gardner Minshew, who was coached by your new OC, who defamed Cam Ward's best friend, Shedeur, or one of his friends. I don't know if they're best friends. Do y'all see the play here? It is given Baltimore Ravens. They're going to treat Cam like they treat Lamar. Okay, you our starter. Okay, you could throw 3,000 yards like Lamar threw for 4,000 yards with a raggedy O-line. So you that tough that you can survive the O-line. Cool. We just ain't going to let you get nowhere. But injured and out the way. That's what I see the Tennessee Titans are doing with Cam. Will Levis should not even be. He failed already. Why are we keeping him around? Are we hoping to revive Will Levis? No disrespect to Will Levis. Are we hoping to revive Will Levis's career the same way they just revived Daniel Jones' career, paying him an enormous amount of money after failing 8 years when he wasn't the best person on the team, but their running back was? So we just want to give away money, and we don't want to give it to black quarterbacks. We want to give the generational wealth to white quarterbacks. And it's not just quarterbacks. When you look at who made the most money in free agency as of yesterday, everybody was white, except for this one person I wasn't sure. The point is, he wasn't visibly black. And I'm looking at all of these tenders and tags and top free agents still around. They mostly black. That's why I educated myself on what the tender and the franchise tag was. These are things that they do to keep from committing to the player right away. Pickens, who you thought they wanted because they got it from Pittsburgh, is on a franchise tag. Not a full-blown contract. So it's almost like, oh, you need to keep proving yourself. I will say this. Cam is tough. Shador is tough. All these guys are tough, right? And yes, they can survive bad O-lines, right? But getting sacked 55 times, and if it happens more like 2 years in a row, it will wear on your mind and your body. And that shouldn't happen. CJ Stroud sacked 52 times the first year, 23 the second. Cam sacked 55 times the first year. Let's see what it is the second, right? Hold on 1 second, y'all. I got to get the door. Hold on 1 second. Just from looking Cam, the usual, the Lamar special. That's just what it's going to be. Yes, you can survive an O-line. You can survive being sacked 55 times, just like Lamar. We're not going to let you get nowhere. How you know they're not getting him an O-line? They might have got him a receiver or two, but they didn't get him an O-line. And if you've been sacked 55 times, you need an O-line. And when they don't get you an O-line, they don't want to protect you. And it was said before he even took a snap that the Tennessee Titans went out and got their young quarterback an O-line. And it didn't work. Same thing with CJ Stroud. They went and got him an O-line. It still didn't work. Shador just got a new O-line. They're not highly skilled. So it's probably not going to work. Now, here's what a lot of people are thinking. They're hoping and praying that Shador, Titus Howard, these guys, that the morality of the situation outweighs what they likely going to be asked to do. Don't go out there and be Superman today. Hopefully they don't listen to that shit and they go out there and be Superman. It's probably going to cost them their careers, but what would you rather have? Your guaranteed money and your conscience, or your guaranteed money and no integrity and a 42 PFF and nobody else wants you and you're known as a rat? What would you rather have for the long term or the short term? Some dignity, some respect, integrity, ending your career in a good way with integrity instead of what Mark Andrews has, a torn reputation. And I'm sure they expect the money to make up for it. Look at Stefanski. They expect the money to make up for his reputation. Look at the Browns. They expect the new stadium to make up for their poor reputation with players, poor reputation with the fans. They think money solves everything. Does it? No. It's a Band-Aid. Eventually, all Band-Aids, if you wear them long enough, come off in time. So from what I've seen of the Tennessee Titans, they're not protecting Cam. I wanted to know what the draft projection was for the Titans. It said they hold the number 4 overall pick in the 2026 draft. It said their primary focus is the 3 impact positions: the edge rusher, a wide receiver, and a running back. Last year, when they drafted Cam, they needed an edge rusher, a wide receiver, and they could have had Travis, they could have had Shador, they could have had Abdul Carter, and they still have the same needs. They're expected to consider edge rusher from Miami, which is on defense. Reuben Bain Jr., widely considered the favorite to address the Titans' most glaring defensive hole after missing out on top free agent pass rushers. Cornell Tate, wide receiver, a popular choice to provide second-year quarterback Cam Ward with a true pro-ready number 1 receiver to complement new signing Wan'Dale Robinson. Okay. Jeremiah Love, running back, Notre Dame, viewed as a blue chip weapon who could transform the offense, though some analysts debate taking a running back this high. They do not value running backs. In my opinion, it was somewhat of a miracle for Ashton Jeanty to be drafted as high, but I understood Ashton Jeanty was drafted that high for what reason? So they could justify not drafting Shador at all. Not that Ashton Jeanty is not good. They don't value running backs. They just says it right here. And I've heard that before. I've heard them say it. I think it was Mel Kiper Jr. before. Well, actually, he was actually talking about Ashton Jeanty, even though he was on the Heisman stage. It said Arvil Reese, edge linebacker, Ohio State, a disruptive, explosive defender, seen as ideal fit for head coach Robert Shiloh's defensive scheme. So that's an edge rusher, potentially a running back, but not high, a wide receiver, and another edge rusher. So, again, no O-lineman. No O-lineman. Remaining roster needs. An edge rusher still considered the biggest need. Even though your quarterback was sacked 55 times, you still need an edge rusher. Interior offensive lineman. Uncertainty at center and right guard following the release of Lloyd Cushenberry and the pending status of Kevin Zeitler. So that's 2, and they don't have that yet. If they get it in free agency, which why didn't they? And they probably have other priorities we just read about, linebackers and wide receivers, more defensive people. They're not prioritizing the O-line. Wide receiver, again, looking for a high ceiling perimeter threat. So, again, I'm willing to work on the defense. I'm willing to go out here and get you some Isaiah Likely's. I'm willing to go out here and get you some Zay Flowers. But once again, I'm not prioritizing the O-line. This is the script. This is the script. Because if you can throw 3,000 yards with the raggedy O-line you had, and I just read they let 2 of the 5 go, and they not a priority. They don't have them already. They could have got him in free agency. Rasheed Wallace is still available. Why nobody get him? Because he's good. And clearly they don't want good. They want mediocre or low level. That's why the Browns are being dragged for their decisions and the money they spent on low level talent. Mediocre, aging talent. That's what you just had. So again, the Ravens not trying to shore up the O-line. Now, after the study, the Titans doing anything and everything, spending $200 million on everything but O-lineman to protect the quarterback, who just came off a shoulder injury. Watch him get popped in the shoulder. Watch they tag that shoulder. Watch. He better be careful. Cornerback depth. So that's the Tennessee Titans. I felt like it was disappointing because from the outside listening about Cam, I said, okay, the fans really like Cam. And again, sacked 55 times, threw for over 3,000 yards with 55 sacks. That's Shador. And we always say Cam and Shador were right here, just different styles of quarterback play. So it was disappointing to see that even though the fans like him, it's just like the Browns. Even though The owner spent $200 some odd million, just like the Baltimore Ravens. They still didn't do nothing with the O-line to protect him. So that's what he got to look forward to. So I wish him well. Hopefully he can overcome. This is why I keep telling y'all these guys need to get into a group chat called 17 to 32 because they all going through the same thing. It's a script. It said the Tennessee Titans were one of the most aggressive spenders in NFL free agency, $270 to $278 million to new contracts during the first wave of signing, and you didn't prioritize the O-line. The writing is on the wall. And you decide to keep Will Levis on your roster at the 3. Even though they say his future is uncertain, it's dysfunctional for him to still be there. He failed. But you let Cam fail like Will Levis failed, and he wouldn't be there. Malik Willis was there first and got moved out the way for Will Levis. Let's see if they make Cam compete again. If you notice, there's no talk of that because he is QB1. The criticisms of the Titans last season. The Tennessee Titans faced severe criticism for being one of the NFL's worst teams with a 1-11 record at one point. Key issues include poor coaching, particularly from Brian Callahan, a weak offensive line, and high turnover, and a lack of rookie development. So, okay, what's the problem? And did they fix it in free agency? No. Let's see if they fix it in the draft. What should they do with that number 4 overall pick? Get a lineman? What should they do or have done with $278 million in free agency signings thus far, and it just started yesterday, officially? Got some O-line. If the Browns can get, 5-4, you couldn't get 2? You let 2 go, you could replace those 2? Really, with $278 million, and the Browns weren't even working with that. You could have got 4. You could have got 5. You could have replaced your entire O-line. But you worried about defense, but not protecting the quarterback. So it's even documented, which means if we know that their O-line was weak because their quarterback got sacked 55 times, then why didn't they address it and make it a priority? It's just like the Browns. The Browns failed to meet the objectives. See, the Browns looked at the Titans and said, well, hell, they ain't getting nobody. So we just going to get somebody and just put something out here. See, everybody got a way they want to achieve the same thing. Fail their quarterback with the O-line. Well, we either going to split it up and send different people here and there, which is why it's not a coincidence that the O-line that's put together in Cleveland came from what quarterbacks? C.J. Stroud and Jordan Love. Disruption. They sent 2 of Cam people gone, but didn't replace them yet. They might use low-level draft picks, which means they're not serious about protecting their quarterback, and they just spending $278 million for the hell of it to look like they're doing something. Andrew Berry, I'm going to look like I'm doing something. Baltimore Ravens gutted the team. Took everybody but the menace on the O-line and let the center go to the Raiders for $81 million. Disruption. And now the Ravens, so we're going to pivot over to the Ravens since we discussed Tennessee. So we're going to close out with the Ravens. The Ravens want people to believe that they were going to get both Trey Hendrickson and Max Crosby. Trey Hendrickson's contract is $100 million. Max Crosby's contract is $100 million. Overnight, I shared a video in my bonnet because they put out a statement saying that the GM who botched this whole trade situation with no consequences, mind you, said, we didn't have enough time to negotiate contracts with Lamar, but we hope we can come to some agreement. So Lamar is not a priority for the Baltimore Ravens. They're not basically saying you ain't got to go home, but you got to get the hell out of here. But they saying we'll get to you when we get to you. And today it was announced that they restructured Lamar's contract for whatever reason, I don't know, because it also states they're getting ready to next week negotiate an extension for Lamar. So why did you restructure his contract today? And if you was gonna get, let me understand this, you was gonna spend $200 on two people, $200 million on two people, and you knew you had upcoming contract extension talks with your franchise QB that already makes $255 million, which means he gonna make the same money, or you gonna give him more money, or he gonna have a shorter term for a lot of money. So $100 million for 3 years or something crazy like that. So you was gonna spend $300 million on three people. That's bullshit. They in damage control mode because they don't want to appear to either be malicious, because it could come out that this whole thing was premeditated. But it's a cover-up. It's a cover-up. So I think paying attention to what happens with Lamar's contract will speak volumes. It appears to me that they were never getting both Hendrickson and Max Crosby, but it also is beginning to look like they are not prioritizing Lamar like they actually said they were. So just like the Falcons said, Michael Penix Jr. is the starter. That's what the owner said. Then he hires Stefanski, and he says it's too early to be giving out jobs. You're not giving out a job that he already earned, and the owner confirmed is him, and the GM let Kirk Cousins go out of respect for Michael Penix Jr. So why does it seem like Stefanski was hired to go against what the owner said and the new GM that was hired? Who decided to give him $15 million? So either the owner is lying and placating the fans, which I wouldn't doubt based on what we're seeing now from these teams, or somebody else hires Stefanski, whether the owner wanted him or not. I guess time will tell. But if he just going to sit there and let them gut his team, they must have leverage. He was in Epstein files, but I didn't hear nobody talk about it, because it's starting to look like, for whatever reason, the Falcons get to be the scapegoat for what happened to Shador. And now they get to get Stefanski, who was the problem for abusing Shador. Do you think that is a coincidence? No. So I don't know if the Falcons are being told what to do. If somebody has leverage over the Falcons and now the Falcons have to do the bidding of whoever has leverage over them, or if the Falcons are just full of it and they just lying and placating their fans, you let me know. Let me know. I think that's what is happening. It's starting to be revealed that the Baltimore Ravens are a clown show. And the longer this goes on with no accountability and Max Crosby's valuation still tanked, it looks premeditated. And if it is premeditated, I predict it's retaliation because he wanted out. He thinks he made a decision for himself, and we gonna show you. It's not. We've seen it happen before, and let's not forget people he know he care about. He called them friend. There was a trade that came out because Max Crosby's valuation that dropped, I thought was highly disrespectful. I'll share it with you. And he might already have figured out that he being colluded against, because they know more than we do. Just remember what Coach Prime said, more happened behind the scenes that we don't know about? It's kind of like the same thing. So this is it right here. This was put out by, I think, Chat Sports. It said the Browns will receive Max Crosby as defensive end, and the Raiders would receive the first round pick, number 6 overall for 2026, and a third round pick. I would think Max Crosby, who was about to get $100 million contract from Baltimore, will be worth more than that. But see right here, it says what? New value. He's being devalued. He's being devalued. He's not even the number one first round pick overall. It's like, okay, we'll give you number 6 and a third round. Seems like he's being devalued. So I think we leaning towards premeditated and malicious. The next step is finding out if the Raiders were in on it. I mean, that would only make sense, right? So let me see what y'all are saying in the comments about all of this. Again, shout out to Shiloh for giving the youth some instruction. I hope that these young guys that are in college are paying attention to the goings on in the NFL. From what I understand, college athletes say they don't even look at the NFL like that because I don't know. Maybe if they don't have no aspiration to go, they're not paying attention to it. And maybe beyond watching the game, are they paying attention to these transactions, to these botched trades, to the sabotage in the regular season, to the draft? Are they paying attention, at least finding some favorite players on different teams? Are they looking at the league holistically in the way the league conduct business? Or are they just looking at the moolah, baby? Let me know your thoughts. All right. Shout out to y'all. There are 100 and something of us in here. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Do me a favor. Do me a favor. Y'all know what I'm getting ready to say. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up. All right. So shout out to fam that's in here. Appreciate y'all for being consistent and riding with What She Says Sports. I appreciate it. Hey, Tamika. How you doing? Hey, Ramad, thank you for holding it down and say, remember when you want to hear and know the truth, listen to Nola Girl and peace to the chat. Thank you. Peace to the truth. Thank you so much. It said, please like, hype, and subscribe. Thank you. And welcome, 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 everybody. Thank you so much. If you're just not joining with us, we hope you come back, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, and we go live at 10:35 every night. I'll be at the game next Monday. The Hawks game, Magic City Monday was canceled, but the game still goes on. So I'll be there. Shout out to Carly and to Taisha for sending me. Hey, Carly, how you doing? How you doing? It's a, hey, everybody, Nola Queen, the truthful teller and resourceful show that do an amazing job of relating to the truth and not lies. Yes, thank you so much. It said, I love how Chase Daniel broke down number 12 film play and made the haters look stupid. Oh, he did it again today? Okay. I had watched Chase since the season stopped. He does a good job with the breakdown. Shout out to you, Tamika. Thank you. Hey, Pam, how you doing? Nisa girl, welcome back. Welcome back. Nikki So Fit, welcome back. Oh, Nikki sent me an email. Y'all remember when it was Thanksgiving and Shiloh and Shador and Miss Pilar and I think Florida were at Shador's house in Cleveland, and Shador was sitting at the table studying, and Shiloh was teasing him? Do you see how simple it would have been to just Google Shador studying football film, and that would have popped up because it has over 1 million views? Like I said, there's ample evidence that the young man studies, but that's also a shot at his father. Now, there was a reporter that was crying for the most part when Stefanski had his last press conference. Oh, we're going to miss you. Oh, hey, this is not going to be the last time we see you. Was that Jason Lloyd doing all that behind Stefanski leaving? Somebody said they thought it was. If y'all know, let me know. That is very interesting if that was him. I thought that was a much, much older guy. But whoever it was, voice was shaky that they said they're not going to see Stefanski no more. I'm like, I tell you what, since you like Stefanski like that, how about you go to his house for dinner? Let him fly you into Atlanta and treat you to dinner. Because what the hell do we need to keep him for? Because you going to miss him. That sounds personal. Sound a little personal to me. Oh, just in case you didn't see my short, Jerry Jeudy, 5 days after posting that he worked out with Shador, suddenly is no longer considered a reliable wide receiver one. Any thoughts? Any thoughts about waving the yellow flag? Media outlets in Cleveland saying, yeah, we hope the Browns don't make the same mistakes of the past. You know, hoping that Jerry Jeudy gets better. Mary Cabot, Andrew Berry seemingly is planning to trade, maybe will trade Jerry Jeudy before the season starts, before, around the summer or training camp. So we were talking about this on X, and somebody, I don't know who it was, came into the comments when I posted that and said, bye, let him go or whatever. Oh, believe me, he wants to leave Cleveland. Like, you have no idea. I didn't have time to get back and start asking, how do you know these things? But word on the street, I guess, is that he wants to be gone. I'm like, is that why he would hang out with Shador and wanted it posted on the internet? Because he know what happened when people embrace Shador? Is he threatening the team? Trade me, or I'm going to spill the guts about Shador, or is the team threatening him? You keep hanging out with Shador, we're going to trade you. Which one is it? It's only one or the other. Because now he's a problem. He was a problem all season. He was a problem all season. They didn't bench him. They didn't hold Stefanski accountable, which is why Stefanski is the worst coach. But I tell you what I'm also seeing. Jack Conklin is gone, officially released today. His contract is now dead cap space. Joel Bitonio officially released. His contract, dead cap space. The Browns have about 85 million in dead cap space, if not more, which means they're not compliant with the cap compliant is what it's called. Jerry Jeudy might be gone. Stefanski gone. Tommy Reese gone. Y'all see what's happening? Cam Robinson gone. I read his name somewhere. He a free agent, apparently. KT Levingston, the only one that was still on the depth chart. Let me see. It's been updated. Let's see if he's still on there. Blake Whiteheart is gone. Remember I said I want to see what happened with his contract? He's gone. But they did decide to keep Brendan Bates and Canella, the one that was on the practice squad. Remember, we don't have a quarterback for the practice squad. We know it's not going to be Shador. Is it going to be Dillon if they can't execute a trade? So I'll show y'all the depth chart again. They updated it. So it was gone. So when they're updating it, they take it down. And I guess it gets updated. And then they come back and put it back. So let's see at what changed. All of the hatred Shador is getting is because, like somebody said in the comments earlier, I forgot who it is. They mad because Shador has gotten further than they ever thought he would. Remember, they didn't think he was going to make the 52-man roster. Remember that? Oh, he'll be gone by the end of training camp. Oh, he'll be gone by, they thought he was going to be gone at the end of, before they broke for the summer, whatever that's called. Remember, they have rookie minicamp, then they have the period that's not mandatory for veterans, then they have the mandatory period. After the mandatory period, they thought Shador was going to get cut. Mary Cabot thought Shador was going to get cut. I remember the narrative. And remember, I have daily videos on the topic once we get to that, to the draft. I actually have videos out following the combine. I'm pretty sure I have videos pre-draft. So this time last year, I think I started live streaming. In case you missed it, on the way. So when you look at the gems of the things we talked about previously, and since time has passed and you go back and look, the video from the live stream with the Baltimore Ravens game, not Baltimore Ravens, the Buffalo Bills versus the Browns, go listen to part 2. You're going to be like, oh my God. You can listen to part 1. It's not that long. Neither one. I advise you to listen to both. But I was listening to part 2 when I was putting it together. I was like, damn. Go listen to it. Go listen to it. Part 1 talks about when Dillon, what happened when he took the field and Shador, after Shador nail got ripped off. But part 2, go listen to it. It's remember the time Shador Sanders went toe-to-toe with Josh Allen. I think that's the one with Josh Allen on the cover. It says part 2 at the top left-hand corner. It just dropped today. It's not even 10 minutes. Go watch that video and tell me the number of gems in it. Yep. Shout out to the chat because we were live during the game. So it's a lot of our comments in there, conversation spurred on by the comments, like right now, like what we're doing right now. But it was just doing the game. And that was a pivotal game because that's the game where number 13 threw the ball to the cameraman. That's the game where I think Shador got his finger smashed and Dylan got in and the fans started booing. Yep. So as you can see on the screen is the depth chart. Shador is still with the updated that they got going on. Shador is still sitting at the 1, which is why I think he's being hated on. As you can see, they talking about getting another running back. Talking about Quinshon Judkins was hurt, but Dylan Sampson is a dog. Raheem Sanders is a dog. And Amani, I don't know him, but I know that Sanders and Simpson bowed out. So they should keep those two. I don't know who Armani is, and I don't know what the hell happened to Jerome Ford. Did he go to the practice squad? So let's see what happens to Dylan Sampson and Raheem Sanders. I'm going to screenshot this before we get out of here because I want to keep it and see what happens by the time we get to week 1 or after the 53-man roster, because they were talking about getting a running back in the draft. And I felt like it was an affront to Quinshon, talking about he's hurt. Quinshon Judkins is back healthy. They even said he would be. But once he was talking about Shador, which tells you they got people listening to these podcasts. They got people listening to the news and podcasts. Because right after something happens, whether it's Shador with the 40 million, suddenly I want to get Malik for 40 million. Jerry Jeudy pictured working out with Shador in Cleveland. 5 days later, Jerry Jeudy is not reliable, and he likely going to be traded before we get to the summer. And if not, they got to get somebody else because he's not reliable. All of a sudden. They got somebody listening to these podcasts, to whatever people are saying. And why are they doing that? That's why, and this confirms what I suggested. It wasn't a coincidence that when Shador was in Paris, that they changed that game between the Browns and the Saints. So you know what this tells me? They keeping tabs on what the narrative is from the public about Shador and them. Are they still the villains? Yes. Is Shador still a hot commodity, a global icon? Yes. Can we cut him now? No, not without no backlash. That's why they got people watching these podcasts, watching what he says, watching what the players do. That's why they're coming for Quinshon. Oh, Quinshon will be back. He'll be back in time. But Quinshon sits down and talk about what Shador endured. Now, well, we need to get a running back because Quinshon Judkins was injured. Now Jerry Jeudy unreliable. Devin Bush gone, and we saw him at Shador's house on the bye week. Wyatt Teller, Flacco, Tony, and Joe Koo. The list goes on. And then there's McDermott, who was the coach of the Buffalo Bills, the game that I just shared the video from our live stream. You definitely want to watch part 2. All right. So Shador, Quinshon, Jerry Jeudy still at the 1. Malachi Corley's at the 2, and Luke Flory is at the 3. This is why I screenshot this while I was talking to y'all, because I want to see if Luke Flory is going to make it this year. I don't hear them talking about special teams at all. I think they got a new special teams coordinator. Malachi Corley is a dog. Number 83. Remember what Mike Tomlin said about Malachi Corley? I was like, damn, you know who that is like that? He said, oh, he's a dog. He came from the Jets, I think. He should have been signed as a free agent. I need to check and follow up on him. Maybe by the, what's today? Friday now? Maybe by tomorrow. We're going to do a members live stream at 6 o'clock tomorrow live. So maybe I'll have an update by then. Cedric Tillman is supposed to be back. Gage is supposed to be back. Isaiah Woolden is supposed to be back. Now, Luke Flory was the one that hurt his hamstring severely. They made a settlement for injury and said that he could come back to the practice squad. He did. They were supposed to elevate him for one of the late games in the season with Shador, and I never saw him. Here he is sitting at the 3 behind Malachi Corley. So we want to see. Malachi Corley and Luke Floria, what happens to the two of them who are behind Jerry Jeudy on the depth chart? That's the very important wide receiver one. Cedric Tillman expected to be back with Gage and Isaiah. Then there's Isaiah Bond, who I thought was very interesting, was devalued in the draft. According to him, falsely accused and arrested about 2 weeks before the draft, so much so that he filed a federal complaint, like for false arrest or something, and he ends up being devalued. But the upside is his contract is only 2 years, and he just finished year one. This is his last year under that devalued contract. So the way he performs this year determines what happens with his contract next year. Isaiah Bond went to Texas. The Browns want to draft Arch Manning from Texas next year. You see how they set that up? Maybe he was totally right and spot on. Because what I thought was very interesting was Isaiah Bond missed camp or most of it and came right on in and scooted right on up as a starter. I thought that was very interesting. Whereas Luke Floria never made it to starter. Gage never made it to starter. None of them were drafted, including Isaiah Bond. But suddenly, he arises as wide receiver one. And he went to Texas. Is that a suggestion to not be Superman all the time? Pay attention. Not saying that that's on Isaiah Bond, but just like Isaiah, the same goes for Luke and Gage. What did I say? They're all possibly unwilling accomplices, meaning they know Gage is small. They had a mismatch in that last pass from Shador to Gage. That was a mismatch. They had a very aggressive veteran on a walk-on player who was smaller in stature. Gage's instincts when he went up for the ball was to brace his fall because lack of experience. Look at Travis Hunter. He don't give a damn. He just fall. And seemingly, I think he know how to fall. And I think Gage kind of beat himself up for that, right? And they kept putting him in situations like that. And we watched them put number 26 on defense in a situation like that against the Chicago Bears. They put him with a big-bodied Amazon receiver. They intentionally created the mismatch. So the lesser experienced, smaller in stature players fail in their mismatch, which means they're devaluing them. Let's see what happens to Gage and Luke Floria and Isaiah Bond. Jamari Thrash is still at the 2 for wide receiver 3. Harold Fanning Jr. is still at the 1. They put Jack Stoll in front of Brendan Bates and Sal Cannella. Now, Jack Stoll replaces who? Blake Whiteheart, the one that ripped off Shador's nail. So earlier, I was beginning to set it up for you that the people that are gone were either retaliated against or participated in the sabotage. And I noticed the pattern from when they played the Rams. Meaning what? You set Shador up with a goon squad and Tyler Huntley, you took him out the game using Tyler Huntley, who was an unwilling participant. And before lunch, you had cut them all because you knew that that's what you was going to do, which is why you felt comfortable using them to set up Shador and or hold him back. So what does that mean for Dylan? Huntley got out. They waived him and he went back to the Baltimore Ravens where he had history, good history. Dylan doesn't have history anywhere. So is he going to Atlanta? Let's see what they can work out. The difference between Dylan and the unwilling participants is he seemingly was willing. And guess what tells you that? His comments, the narratives he was pushing, the likes and clicks crap, the competition narrative. DeJuan Jones is still left tackle. Nobody else is at left tackle. So they're going to get some more left tackles. They're going to get some more left tackles for sure. We just going to see where. Last year they got linemen from what they call a midnight sale, meaning after the draft, they got some people. And those people, Cornelius Lucas for sure is already gone. So they don't value those people. So they can't be trusted to protect the quarterback because you don't value them. You're just getting bodies. And then at the left guard, we have Kendrick Green and Zion Johnson. The Browns being dragged for Zion's contract. Elgin Jenkins and Luke Viper are still together. And Kingsley, did they add somebody? Kingsley, was he there already? I think he was there already. And then let's see, Tevin Jenkins, Zach, and Jack Conley. So Jack Conklin is gone. Jack Conley is there. And Titus Howard, KT Leviston moved up to the 2. See what I was telling you? See what I was telling y'all? I said he was at the 3 last year and conveniently found his way from the 3 to the 2. And the little switcheroo happened after the dirt diving, and he found his way to the 1. KT Leviston is back. And he's behind Titus Howard. Number 72 on the right. Everybody knew 68 and 72. 72 still there. Let's see what happens. And that's what I mean by they're not trying to protect the quarterback. He should be nowhere near the roster. And I hate he did that to himself because he honestly had an 80 or 79 PFF when he came in too. Yep. So we just checked the Browns depth chart and we see they got the tight end on there. Blake Whitehart's replacement. So now I need to see where Blake Whitehart ends up. Batonio replacement is on there. We need to see where he ends up. Jack Conklin is gone. And again, that elevates number 72, just like it did in the season. And they got somebody else on here named Tyler Phillips. And they got a 4th person, Jeremiah Byers. So they got 4 people on the right tackle with KT at the 2. KT was a problem. And they decided to keep their problem. So let's see. Look like the right side going to be the weak side until we figure out who's on the left. All right. So let's see if Titus Howard becomes suddenly unavailable. And KT gets up to the 1 magically like last year. So you got people to watch. And they know we watching. And they watching too. All right. Shout out to y'all for that knew that was Farrakhan. And for those that just learned that number 14 with the buffs is Farrakhan, Khalil Farrakhan. It said black women are so unprotected. Yeah, we got to protect ourselves. Some of us have protection, though. People just don't know. But in society overall, you're absolutely correct. I was always taught to keep your hands to yourself. Yeah. It said, is it the player that unalived a woman and her dog? Wow. I don't know. I don't know. Let me look his name up so I can tell y'all right fast. Raiders player let go due to arrest. And I think he's serving time or did serve time. His name is, I think there's a couple of people now coming up. Henry Ruggs. Henry Ruggs III, while not released immediately upon arrest, he was released in November of 2021, immediately following a fatal drunk driving crash that resulted in a prison sentence. They have several players. Charles Snowden arrested for DUI in 24. Damon Arnett released in 2021 after video surfaced of him brandishing a weapon. And somebody named Chandler Jones, but it's Henry Ruggs III. How it pops up that the Browns said they were keeping their eye on Henry Ruggs III was absolutely insane to me. But that's, if you notice, that's the league. It's like they salivate after players who they can get leverage on because they feel like they can use them and then they can discard them. Because what you gonna do, right? It's not easy being incarcerated and released and going back into society. So if the NFL take you back, you probably gonna do what they ask you to do. Leverage. That's why they like the problematic. And they don't like black excellence because you probably ain't gonna do it. You're not gonna compromise yourself. So yes, that's exactly who it was. And somebody else said Henry Ruggs is he the one the Browns are trying to get. Yep. So there it is. The Browns are actually keeping an eye on Henry Ruggs. That's him. The third. That's him. Yep. That's weird. But that's it. And yeah, Ramon, that's him. It said brother Shiloh finna get looked at pretty soon. I hope so. I'm thinking when they do the invites. So when I saw him at the gym, I said, he probably been working out. Respects and kindness moves mountains. Facts. And that's what people need to understand. So Shiloh telling these young men, if you're just not joining us, I'll share the video on our way out. Shiloh was kind of guiding a young man just as he was at the gym, following a conversation. Just take a listen and then we'll get out of here.
Yo, by the way, he gets home.
No, I don't, bro.
No, he doesn't.
No,
He just said he doesn't.
The tool.
He looks like Chris Brown. Why
The
not?
tool.
No, nigga, we don't like. What's the term you just used? Hoes. We don't like that.
I like
Right.
I like
Women.
Yes, women.
High quality, educated
Classy
women.
So
Chris
yeah,
Brown. Why not?
Tool.
No, nigga, we don't like.
he used the N word. No, and we don't like
I like
Right.
I like
Women.
Yes, women.
High quality, educated women.
women. Okay, he said no N word. We don't call them 304s. They're women, high quality, educated women. And everybody was talking about, yeah. Did y'all notice it was an older gentleman standing right there going, yeah. See, I think sometimes there's the pressure to go along with that type of mentality. But it seems like when somebody comes along and has the courage to hold people accountable and try to uplift, just to kind of steer in the right direction. He wasn't being preachy. He was just like, no, women, high quality, educated women. In other words, what you should be looking for, right? So, I mean, if that's what you call women, you're going to attract women that probably fit the bill. And when they scam you, don't say nothing. That's how I go, though, right? You get what you pay for. That's just all it is. So, shout out to Shiloh for that. He didn't have to do that. And he don't bow to the pressure. And it was an older gentleman. It was a guy in the black, somebody else, and the younger guy to the right. They were like, yeah, okay, yeah, that's it. I was like, okay, I like that. See, Shiloh, they're good. They're good people. But seemingly, the place they want to work at don't want good people. They shun good people. They push away good people, and they love the melanated problematic people. That's just what it's given. Henry Ruggs, you don't even respect Shador. You want to get Henry Ruggs. I mean, everybody makes mistakes and deserves second chances. Yeah, I get it. But you got to respect the good people first. You bypassing the good people to get people you can get leverage on. You're not trying to get Henry Ruggs to give him a second chance. You need somebody to replace those that were willing participants in sabotage who you just let go and who you about to get rid of. Look at the pattern of who's leaving. Retaliated against and willing participants. Not all, but overwhelmingly, that's what it's given. And that's what they did in the summer. So we got the number though. We the Browns, we got your number, boo. All right, so we're gonna get out of here. We'll be back tomorrow. I want to say thank y'all for hanging out. We'll do another Name That Buff. This one was, y'all almost made me say it, but it's not Will Shepherd. This is a recent photo. This is Khalil Farrakhan, and this is not any type of AI. This is a crazy vertical height that he has, that he was able to make that catch. So I'm looking forward to him catching more of these passes, because he gonna make football really exciting. And I'm proud of him. He stayed. He was a freshman. He's back. So he get ready to light it up. So shout out to Khalil Farrakhan. But he was a star, I think, out of the Houston, Texas area, North Shore High School. Yeah, I think Jalen Hurts go to North Shore High School too, out of Houston area. North Shore is a really good school. So he went to a really, really good school. His parents probably moved over there so he could get to that school. You never know. I heard parents do that to make sure their kids who are uber talented get to the right programs. Same thing. All right, y'all. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Thank you. Yes, this was a great show, full of information. In the future, it will be full of gems. Go watch part 1 and part 2 in case you missed it. Remember that time when Shador Sanders, Browns versus the Bills. Just put it out is only 8 minutes and maybe 6 minutes long. I don't even think either one is 8 minutes long. Go check it out. Full of gems. See y'all later. Thanks for watching What She Said Sports. Have a good night, everybody. Don't forget, buy me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com if you're looking to support the channel. And y'all know my Cash App, What She Said Sports. Good night, everybody. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hype me up. Hype me up.